Australia's burger flipping economy. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian Heise here, and welcome to another episode of Heise Says. I've got my stein of coffee and I thought we would have a look at this interesting article. It's to do with Grilled, a pretentious or luxury burger chain where you pay an exceptional amount for a hamburger that is, well, paying their staff very little. And there's a few issues to discuss here. One, you can just simply take the tangent, oh, it's this evil corporation taking advantage of these poor workers. And that's, one example, because it's published here by Frank Chung as a hamburger university. And they're receiving, $7 million in taxpayer funding for a scheme to pay staff $14.50 an hour. Okay, $14.50 ain't that much. But you also need to look at the other side of this, guys. Because let's have a read through the article and think about what is the other side. Why is it set up in such a situation where people are getting qualifications to make a burger? Maybe a little bit too much regulation. So hamburger chain Grill has received more than $7 million in taxpayer subsidies for an apprenticeship program that has been criticized as a deliberate scheme to underpay younger staff. The revelation comes as the workplace cop confirms it is looking into the healthy burger business days after its founder, Simon Crowe, issued a panic message to staff ahead of a pending media story about its training program. Grilled, which has previously come under fire for allegedly underpaying workers, requires new employees to undertake compulsory retail and hospitality training programs. In exchange for being paid as little as $14.50 an hour, $1.50 less than the award wage, young workers receive a certificate through vocational education provider Serena Russo. So here you go, Serena's getting a kick of it, and the burger place is getting a kick. And here is an example. This is a tweet from a journalist out of Toowoomba. And, I worked at Grilled for just over 2 years. It took about 6 hours of work to complete the Cert 3 in hospitality they forced us to do so they could pay us less. My manager at the time even said as much as the government paid for training. So there you go. The government paid for the training. So what we have here is we have the government establishing a system of certification for hospitality work. Okay, so they're adding this artificial certificate that people need, which is a joke. It's just basics. All these Cert 3s and Cert 2s are a bloody joke. They are a joke. Anyone who can disagree with me, please let me know. And by creating this, it gives the opportunity for the business. And I don't blame the business. The government can say, oh, look, we're training all these apprentices. We're putting money into apprenticeship training. The business can take advantage of that and then set up a system where they can save money and give valuable certificates to their staff. Then Serena Russo probably gets a huge kickback as well in, education training costs. So, another thing to think about, guys, is we need to look at the complexity of Australia's economy. Let's jump over here to this screen here, and you can see this is from the Observatory of Economic Complexity, and 0.09, 59th in the world. Depending if you look at the Harvard scheme, we're at 90. There's different ways of assessing our economy, but there's one consistency through all of them. We're not very complex. We're not very advanced. We're not an advanced civilization, guys. Because we're doing this type of stuff. We're flipping burgers. We're flipping burgers and we're getting trained. So let's jump back here and have a look. So for an 18-year-old school leaver, the gap between their wage as a trainee and a non-trainee widens as they get older. $1.50 an hour starting out to $2.50 an hour by the time they turn 20. Critics, including one former staffer who completed the program, say the training is simply an excuse to legally pay young workers below award wages while receiving generous government handouts, a claim Grill strongly denies. So here's the thing. Let's take another look at it. I'm not a fan of Grilled. Not in the slightest. In 2015, they removed a pro-life charity from one of their local matters, put a token in a tar thing here in Brisbane. When I found out about that, we donated to the charity. And I rang up the charity, and they were telling me This is the best publicity we ever received. Rather than just getting $500 from Grilled, we've had so many people ring up and support the charity. They wanted to make lapel pins so people could share a pro-life message. So I don't like Grilled. From that moment, I have refused to eat there. And now, well, that I'm keto, there's even less incentive for me to eat their food. But you need to think about it. They're working in the system. They're working in this system that has been created. And also, here there's differences in the economy. There are other competing burger businesses that can't set up a scheme like this to get a competitive advantage. Because this isn't free market. This is crony capitalism, guys, right here. Because they have it, they can get the lawyers to get the scheme with the government, to work with the training organization to pay their staff less, get government subsidies. Whereas the other, smaller burger business that doesn't have access to all of that can't. So, are Grilled being all evil, or is it just the fact that we've got government regulation in the education of burger flippers? You're making a bloody burger, guys. Come on, okay? Sure, they're bloody expensive. They put a bit of egg on it. To make something like that, people do it at home every day, and we don't have rampant food poisoning all throughout Australia, do we? Okay. Well, I admit, I have done Uber, and I did bring baked potatoes to someone's house, so I'm sure some people couldn't even make a burger like that. And that's a completely worrying trend for another argument. But it all comes down to guys, where we're heading. Look, our education is plummeting here. Australia ain't doing so well. Because stuff like this is our innovation. So the training was really, really easy. Literally like 4 hours work. But it took me almost 2 years to get it completed, the former Grilled employee told news.com. See, this is the thing. They're locked in. I'm going to zoom out here because it's a little bit too big. They are locked into using this system when they sign up for it. If it was a real free market, I could set up my own Cert 3 certification business in hospitality online where people could do log their own hours. They could do a quiz, do the paperwork, download it all. You could even give it to people for free. I guarantee you there'd be a free model or a really cheap model where people could do it. Maybe $100, if that, to do a check, random checks. And then you'd have the advertising revenue on your website probably paying for it. They'd spring up out of nowhere. But because the government has clamped down on who can give out these certificates, because there's a whole rigmarole and a process to it, because it's politically expedient for them. It's good, it sounds good for them. It's publicity saying, oh, we're providing these apprenticeships. Yeah! We get shit like this. Okay, guys, this is the problem. This is where we're not an innovative country. This is where all of these new innovative technologies that are freeing up Australians to enter the gig economy. They may have to because they've got no other choice. But just think about that. All that revenue, a lot of that's heading overseas. Not here in Australia. We've got our hipster software super dudes that want to make solar panels and start up companies just kissing up to the Prime Minister and then dissolve them a few years later, having done nothing. So yeah. The young woman, who worked at the chain for nearly 3 years, said she was promised when she was hired the training would take no more than a year and that it would be really quick. She said Grilled didn't really talk about how the traineeship would affect her wage. They just said when you finish, you'll get an increase and you'll have a Cert 3. And that you have to work here, she said. So it sounds good to the prospect, which is fine. But there you go. This is the thing. This is the perverse environment we have. You've got this artificial requirement for this certificate to allow people to work in this industry, and it's creating this situation. So can you blame the burger place? When she started working at Grilled at the age of 18, she was on $14.50 an hour, which increased to $16 an hour and then $17 an hour before she finally moved off the traineeship onto a normal wage of about $19 an hour. She claimed the training program was a stalling tactic to pay her less. It wasn't due to the amount of work, it was how they stalled, she said. I wasn't able to log onto the system. You can't contact the regional guy. He wouldn't get back to you. There are a lot of blatant stalling from the company. Well, that's what she's claiming. There's no evidence of that. Have any of you used some of these education systems? They're terrible. Some of them, they probably don't. There's no incentive to put money into it to make it good. You want to drag it out. You want to drag it out. Well, so I understand where she's coming from. But also, there's the other tactic. Does that mean wages are too high for these type of roles? How many businesses do we hear in the retail sector are going under? $19 an hour to flip burgers? That's a fair bit. It's not a very high skill. If you can do the training in 4 hours, it's not a very high skilled job. So, and I'll let you go through all of this yourself at a later time. I honestly left a lot of that to Rachel. It just, it got me. I hated it so much. She said Grilled would deliberately not roster employees onto the stations they needed to complete the training. You'd have to do a certain amount of hours on different stations to be eligible to get ticked off, she said. Oh, okay. I mean, I question that statement. I think it's got more to do with maybe she's right, but also you got to stand up and ask for it. In architecture, it was the same thing. We needed to do a logbook of hours to get our registration. One of the hardest was to get was contract administration, because no architects hardly do it anymore. It's very rare these days, because people all go into a design and construct methodology. There's a whole raft of issues that go down that, maybe the triangle of failure that we have down in Sydney with all the defective buildings, but that's for another video. But from that perspective, you had to step up and ask and take on responsibility. I know in our own practice, we'd have 2 staff members there again. Okay, we've got this job that needs to get done. We don't have time to do it. Which one of you wants to take on this responsibility? We have 2 people standing there. One will put their hand up going, yep, I've got no idea, but I'll give it a shot. The other one would shy away. Who do you think got all the hours to tick on their logbook? Quick. So, yeah. A lot of the training was for the servery. I was stuck on the floor for the first 1.5 years, never in the kitchen. There would always be excuses. She added that if staff ever complained about this or other breaches of their contracts, such as working more than 1 late shift per week or more than 2 Sundays per month, their hours would simply be cut. Don't you want to work more than 2 Sundays a month to get extra money, or work more late shifts? Don't you want to get the hours? So I'd be working 5 nights a week and every Sunday. If you ever complained, they'd give you no shifts. You can't really say anything, she said. She said she finally quit a few months ago for her mental health. The mother of another former Grilled worker told news.com.au her son quit after 6 months, but Grilled still received a $6,000 subsidy for employing him. Well, yeah, that's how this works, guys. That's this whole government apprenticeship system here. This is the innovation of our nation. This is the problem when you get regulation in these type of things. Too much regulation and stuff that doesn't need it. We've got technology now that should make this so much simpler to do, and we're going to be left behind. I've worked in industrial relations and human resources for many years, and I'm aware of traineeship systems, she said. The mother said the scheme was corporate welfare. Well, that's what you get, guys. And of course, she works in IR and HR, of course. We called it Hamburg University, she said. It's just outrageous. They put them on a traineeship, collect from the government and pay them $14 an hour. The Sydney woman said her son, who went to work for Grilled after finishing Year 12, received barely any actual training and thought it was a load of rubbish. There you go, mate. There you go. This is what happens when government gets involved. Come on, man. Become more freedom-orientated. You're on the path, mate. This is your first red pilling into the bullshit that you're seeing. He worked at McDonald's when he was at school, and the training was much better. Much better, she said. The other thing that made him a little bit cranky was that they were also using the traineeship system to reduce wages. This was unfair, really. They'd all turned up and did their shifts. Well, if he went to McDonald's, why didn't you already have a Cert 3 from McDonald's? Maybe because they don't want to bother with it. I'm not familiar. I've never worked in any of these organizations. My first job at school was Woolworths as a service cashier. And, I didn't want to do any of these things because I wanted money. I rather had the casual wage than doing a traineeship. But they paid very little too. I remember that. I mean, here you can go through all the details of it, guys. It is what it is. She said her son was studying and never intended to make a career out of hospitality. making the training pointless. Then why didn't he get a job somewhere else? Oh wait, he did. The whole question of traineeships for people who are at university, they're not going to make a career out of hospitality, really needs to be looked at by the government, she said. No, they don't care. The government doesn't care. It's because they want to say they're getting so many apprenticeships. That's why. It's politics. It's government money chucked around for no purpose. Well, okay. I wonder if this lady would realise how much of it is actually chucked around for no purpose. In a statement, Grilled denied its training program was a deliberate scheme to underpay workers. Grill's 2015 enterprise agreement applies to our restaurant teams and is approved by the Fair Work Commission, a spokeswoman said. Any suggestion that the enterprise agreement is anything but lawful, valid, or compliant is strongly denied. The current agreement resulted from a consultation process with staff and was approved by 95% of staff who voted. There you go. Democracy in action, guys. Democracy in action. This provided qualifications and a pathway for thousands of people who have gone on to bigger and better things, many in senior positions at Grilled and across hospitality and other industries, she said. Our traineeship program is accredited and administered by qualified external training providers, and those completing it receive nationally recognized qualifications. It enhances the skills of trainees, not just for Grilled, but for the trainees generally. She said it was not a condition of employment that team members become trainees, although we encourage our employees to complete the traineeship. The spokeswoman said all entry-level staff were required to do the traineeship before 2015 agreement, but now only 31% of all staff were trainees. Well, there you go. Traineeships remain the preferred point of entry into a career at Grilled, she said, adding that on average trainees take 13 months to complete the traineeship. Training provider Serena Russo was approached for comment, but referred questions back to Grilled. I bet they did. I mean, they've got a good gig, don't they? A Fair Work Ombudsman spokesman confirmed the watchdog was conducting inquiries in relation to Grilled. There we go. All these inquiries are ongoing. It is not appropriate for us to comment further, he said. Any workers with concerns should contact us directly. Official figures showed Grilled received a total of $7 million from the federal government's apprenticeship incentives program since 2005-2006. $7 million. Why is the government investing money in burger flipping? Can someone let me know? Can someone let me know? Okay? When people are saying we need more apprenticeships, we need apprenticeships like this. Is this actually an apprenticeship? Yeah, no. I don't think it is. I don't think it's worth it. It's not going to have a, I'd rather that tax gets reduced. Reduce federal income tax by that amount. It's going to be a tiny amount, but, give it to pensioners. Invest it in something that will have long-term benefit to the civilization, not burger flipping. In the statement, the Grilled spokeswoman said the grants from the government were more than offset by the significant investment made into the curriculum development, ensuring compliance, and additional fees to our registered training organisation partners. Well, that's insane. You shouldn't have $7 million spent on making a bloody training course. What does that tell you? The net cost to Grilled of running traineeship program, as it relates to government subsidies, has averaged in excess of $450,000 each year over the last 3 years, she said. Grilled appreciates the government's effort in providing nationally accredited qualifications and promoting the professionalization of the hospitality industry. This provides a pathway for young people to establish careers in either hospitality or other industries. According to data from the Department of Employment, Skills, Small and Family Businesses in 2019-2020, Grilled received $454,000, in 2018-19, $680, 17-18, $835. These figures do not include franchisees. As the start of the month, 1,528 apprentices and trainees were undertaking hospitality certificates 2, 3, 4 and retail certificate 3 at Grilled. Employment Minister Michaela Cash said in a statement, the underpayment of any worker will not be tolerated by the Morrison government, and that workers with a complaint should contact the Fair Work Ombudsman for assistance. The Morrison government is committed to ensuring that we have a vocational education and training system that delivers job-ready Australians with the right skills to employers, Ms. Cash said. We are committed to training an additional 80,000 apprentices and trainees over the next 5 years. An apprenticeship or trainee is a great way to get ahead, start in a chosen career by providing a nationally recognized qualification, and delivers on the job experience, enabling students to earn while they learn. Okay, this is the problem. Right here. There's a political incentive just to get these out. There's a political incentive. So they will spend millions of dollars training people to make hamburgers when it should be the business's responsibility, frankly. It should be the business's responsibility. Sure, if there's a free market set up to allow for the qualification, the checking, maybe you had a McDonald's experience. Why the hell do we have this? Guys, if you want to hire someone, okay, they've worked at McDonald's, I know their training is good. Oh, they worked at Grill. Oh, it's not quite as thorough. That's how it works. People ate in restaurants long before they had these certificates, didn't they? Kind of survived. She added, it is the responsibility of state and territory governments to approve employers to train apprentices and trainees. From July 1, the Australian Apprenticeship Incentive Program will be replaced, of course, with a new simplified and streamlined program called Incentives for Australian Apprenticeships. And I bet you that's going to be a new logo and cost millions of dollars, but I'm not going to bother going into that. The Grilled spokeswoman said 72% of respondents to a third-party conducted anonymous survey of more than 2,700 Grilled staff undertaken in November 2019 answered that they had access to the learning and development I needed to do my job well. Last week, Mr. Crow sent an urgent update to staff to get ahead of criticisms of Grill's training program, which first came under scrutiny in 2015. Any suggestions that we've fallen short of our values is one that I take very seriously, Mr. Crow said in an email, which was then posted to Twitter by University of Technology journalism student Alex Turner Cohen. We're aware of pending media story that will wrongly claim we have worked against the interests of our franchise partners and our restaurant teams, including how we conduct our training. Well, he's right. He hasn't. He is not. They've just worked with the system. The problem is the system. I don't blame Grilled. I'm not a fan of Grilled at all. But that's the problem, guys. When you create these bullshit education programs, certificates to do menial tasks. Yet at Grilled, we are always seeking to improve our business systems and processes, and we've worked hard to make Grilled a place of work that people can enjoy, including improvements to the quality of Grilled's training. A statement to news.com last week, Grilled spokesman said the company was immensely proud of the opportunities we have provided to many thousands of Australians, and any suggestions we've fallen short of a high standard will be treated very seriously. You can see here, they've developed the system, they've put the energy in place. That's the thing. In 2015, Grilled agreed to renegotiate its contract after former employee Kalyan Pra took the chain to court for allegedly underpaying staff at its Camberwell outlet. At the time, Mr. Crow said in a video message, after the 2005 Work Choices era agreements were absolutely legal, but there's enough noise out there to know people want the agreement modernized, and we will listen. So there you go, guys. There is the situation with Grilled. Well, I don't see this as innovation. Not in the slightest. I don't see how we need the government involved in the training of people to make burgers. I think it's to do with our declining education. Really? Guys, it's going to stall wage growth, like I said, and just the complexity of our economy. It's just all coming through here. And let me know what you think, guys. Are you a fan of this system? Have you gone through the Grill training? Do you have a Cert 2 or Cert 3 that you're proud of? Do you think the government needs to get out of all of this garbage, give us our money back, and kind of let the free market give it a try? Anyway, guys, thank you for watching this episode of Heise Says. If you enjoy my content, want to help me produce more, I have a Patreon where you can make a donation. We also have merch on Heise Says, PayPal as well, and Amazon and eBay affiliate links. I remembered it eventually. Take care, guys. Have a great day.